Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Destroy Argos, or as we've coined it, the out of stock shop here in the UK.
So, for people who aren't in the UK, Argos is a shop that you kind of get your furniture and your garden stuff. But it's one of those where it's like an Argos catalogue. Like I used to actually, when I was a lot littler, get my Christmas list ideas from there.
Yeah,
You
it's
used
the
to,
same. A big, massive catalogue of stuff. I don't know if there's what the equivalent is in the States or wherever, but like a bit like, maybe like you would like a Toys R Us type of thing or something like that, where you like go through and circle things in the magazine, like, oh, I want this for Christmas.
Yeah, even Toys R Us isn't available now. It would
No.
be Smithies, wouldn't it, or something like that for the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to go through and then you'd circle it, and then what you'd have to do is you go to this machine and you put the number in and everything. It's really weird because you don't actually see the product until you've bought it and you're taking it home. Like literally, you only see
it's essentially in a warehouse in the back, and it's like here it is in a box, and then you just hope it's going to be the size or whatever thing. You've only got the pictures from the catalogue to go by, but
normally you put the number in and then it goes, oh, sorry, it's not in stock, and then you're like, oh, okay, what about this one? It's like one left, and then you'll get to the till and you'll be like, oh, somebody else has already bought it.
Anyway, the reason we bring that up is because of the film that we're going to be talking about, which is the 1981 version of Clash of the Titans, where this is one of the lines that Zeus, the god of Greek mythology, spouts against the people of his city for dishonouring him, basically.
And it kind of starts off with the fact of quite a horrific scene where
it's very dark, the opening, I guess.
Yeah.
Not maybe not so much horrific, but like, like it's a bit
like the thought of doing that to your daughter.
Yeah, but this is like, if you think about it in concept like Game of Thrones type of thing to a modern audience, it's kind of like, but how things were perhaps back in the day, it's kind of like, oh, you dishonoured me in this way, so therefore you were cast out.
I'd rather be casted out instead of like literally still alive, no harm done to me, but chucked into like a little human coffin in the sea, alive. Like that's torture, that is. I think I prefer to be burnt alive.
Really?
Yeah, because at least it's more quicker.
But being burnt alive is a slow, grueling process.
Yeah, but I'm going to be in that box, and how long am I going to be there starving, drowning?
There's more chance of you surviving in that regard than there is.
Yeah, but I could be perishing for God knows how long. Burning alive would take quicker than me floating in the sea with no food. Like, what am I going to do?
Chances.
What am I going to do if I need a wee?
Wee in the box.
So then you're laying in your own pee and...
Well, not ask, these aren't the things that are addressed in the film, sadly, but...
No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't see why anyone would do that, and opening up with this scene.
And then quickly go into a more fairly whimsical opening title cards. It's quite jarring in that sense, like how it's coming across in its tone.
Yeah, the way that it opens and then it kind of tries to be a little bit more light-hearted, doesn't it? It feels.
Yeah. One of the strong points of the film, which has been like the, I guess, cinematography of in regards to the landscapes and
they've got good sceneries, haven't they?
Yeah. But through all this part, there's the shots where there is a like shown bird of the like this gull.
Mm-hmm.
But then, did you notice like there's certain parts where it's like a weird like almost like cartoony shadow thing, and it was like kind of like
the blue shadowy bit.
Yeah, it was almost like it was like superimposed on the background for that part.
I think it was a bit disappointing with certain aspects of this because I feel like there was some really good quality screen shots, and then I feel like there was others where it was like really let it down.
Yeah, we'll get to those parts as we go through, but this leads up to this bird transforming into one of the gods that lives up in Mount Olympus. If anybody knows about Greek mythology, that's where all the gods reside in their infinite power and control of everybody, all the mortals down on Earth.
I'd love to have that job. Like,
job.
Kind of think of Sims or something like that, where you're like, you
have control over.
Yeah, so that makes it sound really bad. But, like, kind of like looking at their lifestyle and thinking, oh, well, you're making some wrong choices here. There's no mercy, or actually this person's really good and we're going to help him. But I think Zeus is a bit biased.
Very much so, yeah. Especially with it being his son.
I think that's a bit strange, though, because it's like, well, in my opinion, you shouldn't be swaying. You're a god, and like even a goddess, you shouldn't be biased. It's hard not to be, but I'd have thought they're unhuman-like, aren't they? They're like, we should have better morals.
Yes, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But as you can see, plays out throughout the course of the film as well. There's kind of like this power play between all of them, or some of them at least.
Yeah.
That makes them seem as human as the rest of us, really. Like they have the things with who they love and who they hate,
but that's the thing. It's everything. Like, well, then they shouldn't be a god or a goddess, in my opinion, because that part of who you love and who you hate, you should be neutral. You should be able to see it from both sides, even if it is your son or not. But they seem to be just as petty as the people down on Earth. It's like, if anything, sometimes it seems the worse off in the end, doesn't it?
But they have the means to control what they want, really, in terms of, which is in its own right. It's kind of like, well, if you can do that, why can't you just make things easy for that person entirely? Why has it got to go through all these trials and stuff? But then it's like, well, there wouldn't be a story then. It's not like growth for that character or in particular.
And as well, I think I don't know if it's just the way that us Brits are. We like a good kind of somebody struggling and kind of see them better themselves, because I feel like if you don't fail, you don't learn. So I guess that's maybe some of the moral. But also I thought it was a bit strange that Zeus obviously has a son on Earth. Like, he sees this pretty woman who's got thrown in this box, and she's kind of like Mary then, isn't she? She's had
essentially, yeah,
virgin birth, possibly.
Yeah.
It makes it sound like it's actually worse than that, like because he can transform into anything.
Whatever he likes, really. Yeah.
So he might have become a man, and
that's how it's happened,
which I think is a bit wrong.
Yeah, especially as we know that he's got a wife, so he comes as a bit of a player, really.
Yeah, and it's like you're Zeus. You're meant to be a god. You're not meant to be like, oh, I've got a wife in heaven or wherever.
A bit on the side down on Earth.
Yeah, like that. I'm like, these god kind of perceptions are way out of whack here.
Yeah, you're supposed to be like ethereal and everything, but you just being a bit of a slag bag.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's really, really wrong. And obviously, because I think he somewhat loves this daughter that's been thrown into the water, he's kind of said, right, okay, is it Argos is getting
destroyed? Yeah, because he's the father of the daughter, Acrisius, is like going against God or Zeus in this case. Like you've betrayed me kind of thing, and being blasphemous to him. So therefore takes his vengeance, for calling him out on that.
But to be fair, like, taking your vengeance out on him, why are innocent people having to die because of his actions? Like, that's not merciful, is it? Like, innocent people are getting swept away now in like what looks like a bit of a tornado and
tidal wave and stuff caused by this creature, the Kraken.
Yeah.
Release the Kraken.
But like, couldn't you just? He crumples him anyways in his hand.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't you just done that?
Yeah, you could have done it. You could have just left it at that. But it's then this whole thing of people lived in fear of gods and stuff. So they obviously the whole worship behind it, they build like temples and stuff around them. So therefore, it's kind of like giving a message to everyone else, like, don't cross me, or you'll get the same fate. But it's like, but you're still wiping out a lot of people unnecessarily, really.
Yeah,
and you didn't really need to do that. You could have just ended his life, and that would maybe have been enough. But covering his bases, I don't know.
It's wrong. It's like, do wrong to somebody who's done wrong, I guess, and like, yes, they deserve to be punished. But, like, for example, if that was here, let's say somebody's robbed a bank, so the whole city's going to get punished because of one person robbing a bank? It just wouldn't happen, would it? So it's like, it's not the right logical of a god. Anywho, so we kind of get on to Zeus's son, Perseus, on a beach, all grown up, looking handsome, apparently.
Do you not think he's not handsome?
I don't really see the appeal. It's weird. He looks like a little boy with muscles.
I can kind of see where you're coming from.
It's like, you look strong, but you don't.
He's got a very strong jawline.
I don't feel like I would feel safe around him.
Right. Okay.
I'm not convinced, like, that he's that strong or anything like that. I don't know. A part of me thinks don't mind his hair. He reminds me a little bit of a Jon Snow with the hairstyle. But he's no Jon Snow.
No, he's definitely not.
I wouldn't be, like, swooning at his feet, even though he's a son of God.
He's not.
Or Zeus.
I don't think he's demigod. It's not established that he is like Hercules.
Right.
It's, although...
Even though they're really kind of like paving the way for him.
Yeah.
So you've got this goddess getting a little bit upset because Zeus didn't give her son
a fair chance for his crimes of, slaughtering animals and any living thing that he comes across. So Zeus takes it upon himself to transform her son into this hideous
Looks
creature.
A little bit like the devil.
In a sense, yeah.
Like, that's the way it would portray. Like, he's got horns coming out of his head and a tail. But
what is described as... Do you remember from Hercules and Phil?
Yeah.
That's referred to as a satyr, which is kind of like this half human, half goat creature thing. So that's sort of based on. This is the film's version of that, basically, like a.
Well, it's
satyr,
nothing like the one from Hercules.
Well, no, of course not.
I'd even want a little goat type human.
If obviously make that look a bit cuter in the Disney one, don't they? But
so obviously, with not showing any mercy towards him and making him look like a devil goat.
I think that was quite good where they did that with the shadow effect. Like it's like a cast of shadow, you see the figure, and then it zooms in on the shadow, and then it does this like stop frame transformation. The shadow like becoming that, and then it pans back to the figurine that is now of that form. So they're almost like pawns in like a chess game.
Yeah, it is. I agree. But obviously you can't change your knight into a queen. But obviously up in heaven, I'm guessing it is, or wherever the gods are living, you can do whatever you please.
We'll just call it Mount Olympus.
Mount Olympus.
Yeah, like it is Hercules and this. Yeah, Olympus, yeah.
So the goddess, something to do with the moon, isn't it, where humans are controlled by the moon? And I know my sister says this all the time, bless her. Like, if she's emotional and there's a full moon, then that's the reason behind it. So obviously we're kind of on the beach.
And she casts him into this faraway land, far from where he's lived on this small island, to Joppa,
where her son
resides. Yeah, this land where who was supposed to be his wife to be lives, Andromeda.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of her?
She's very pretty.
She's so pretty. I don't even think she's like a real human. She's that pretty, like literally just perfect. I'm thinking, how young must she be? But what about her acting?
Not so strong, especially on seeing on this rewatch, for me anyway. You've got certainly high caliber actors like Maggie Smith, who is McGonagall from Harry Potter.
Yeah, you can just tell by her voice. Like, you actually said, "Oh, that's Maggie Smith," and I was looking at you like, "Who?" And then I'm thinking, you sure she's not the lady from Harry Potter? But it is her voice. Like, actually, she looks really quite young.
Oh yeah.
Within this, so obviously McGonagall in Harry Potter's a little bit older and a bit, not bedraggled, but just not as youthful.
Yeah.
So when we kind of looked at her, I was like, recognising her voice had not hardly changed.
Well, it's not going to really, as such.
It might get older when she gets older, be a bit more frail.
But you've got these high caliber actors, and then you get a bit like Perseus himself. He doesn't really come across as... He has that kind of like lost child look about him in terms of...
And then it's even worse when she gets on the scene,
Andromeda.
Because she
oh, hello there, like...
Yeah, and then they're both touching one another's faces. And in slow motion, I'm thinking, can this get any slower? Like, if I did that to your face, how does that feel? Is that nice? Like, do you feel loved?
No,
it feels a bit weird.
We haven't even got to that part yet, though. We haven't actually met one another. But
when they do, like, it gets even worse when they're both on the same together, because it's like they're both really not meaning this in a bad way. They're just a bit mediocre actors and actresses. I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah.
So we magically get to Joppa, and we're in like a
big city, and so we soon learn that there's a curse been set on the land because of Calibos, who's now the outcast and been transformed into this creature who lives in the swamps.
But he was meant to be betrothed to Andromeda, which obviously once he got shows how shallow she is, or never loved him in the first place, was once he got kind of outcasted and turned into a billy goat, that she no longer...
Would you, to be fair?
Were you still a nice person?
If it was me and I was still... But if it was still me, but I was like a monster that looked like that, would you still hang around?
To be fair, my favourite film of like Disney is Beauty and the Beast, and I preferred the Beast as the Beast instead of the Prince Charming. So I don't know if that says anything about me, but as long as you're you,
right,
and you weren't changed, if you've got horns coming out your head, I wouldn't really care.
Okay.
As long as you're not going to be horrible to me. What are you saying? If I became a mythical creature, let's say I became Medusa,
well, we know,
but I won't turn you into stone or something like that. Let's just say I have snakes coming out of my head.
That'd be pretty cool.
But the thing is, Paul, I'd be able to see every move you do. So she's quite fickle in that sense, isn't she? Yeah.
But the curse that he's put on her is that her spirit has to be called back to him, I'm guessing almost every night.
Every night, yeah.
And he comes up with like a riddle so that it's like a thing, well, if I can't have you, no one can, so everybody who fails the riddle gets burnt to the stake, kind of thing. And this is the first instance of seeing the stop frame animation of Ray Harryhausen, who is, for one of the better term, is probably the strongest part of the movie, and the reason why most people would have gone to see it, because of it's obviously he hasn't directed it or anything, but his work, the animation that he puts in his models and everything within this, is well renowned.
And I can understand why that is. Yeah. It obviously we're getting like a vulture kind of looking bird that's coming on the screen, and it looks really, really realistic. Like the model,
to a degree, yeah. But you still know it's a model. But I think, in all fairness, this is one of the best models in the film. To be honest, maybe it's because we can identify that as being a real animal, just upscaled. And
what do you think about Pegasus, though? I guess that's not as hard, is it, really, to do? Possibly, because it's going to be a horse just with wings, isn't it?
Yeah. But in terms of his model, I mean, it's okay, but the workaround with his model, or the Pegasus entirely, is the fact that you can allow clever close-ups of just his head and his hooves or whatever, and then just have the odd shots
with the
wings on other parts, but then long shots you have the model, so that's the workaround there, so it doesn't come across as strong.
I think the vulture-looking bird does work, kind of the feathers and everything like that. It makes it look a bit realistic of kind of what they're going for. I think for me, that shot works the way that they've done it with the cage and everything. I think slowly as you're gradually going on, I kind of saw the models and then the human contact with the models
a bit green screen,
a bit weakened. If I'm completely honest, it doesn't seem like they're on the same layer.
No, well, it's rear projection. It's a bit like, if you remember from like King Kong, the 1933 one. That was the same principle with that.
Yeah, but I don't know if was that not in colour? Is that?
It was black and white. Yeah.
So maybe that's how it got a little bit better, because I think one side of the film looks saturated, so it looks a bit too like you've literally overlapped it and that's made it darker. So you needed to expose that one probably.
Yeah, I said to you, didn't I? It's very apparent if you maybe brighten that up or like made it less washed out, because you can tell the models are either a lot brighter or more, in quotation marks, higher definition, because obviously they're more a physical thing rather than just a screen.
Yeah.
It doesn't match up very well, and you can see that it's like, well, that's clearly not there with that person standing next to him. But they try their best.
They try their best. I think it's more the colorization of things. So I'm guessing the model is overlaid onto the shot of the people. So
it would have like green screen, say, let's say. The model's there against, that's the backdrop, and the movement of the creature is put there. And then, the actors will essentially, on the footage, will just be swinging at air or something.
Yeah.
Obviously now it's a bit more easier to do that because you can have like someone with an actual person with like those suit things, and you've got little dot things to make the green screen, and just apply the character in post. But it's kind of like where you can physically see, so you know where you're going to hit. Whereas this, it's, I mean, they do a fair job of like, you know, stabbing or poking something, and it's
not even that. That's the downside. It's more the colorization of looking like it's just not on the same page. Like the humans just look really dull, which they've kind of actually, weirdly, the animatronics look a lot better, which is a bit strange.
But that speaks for the film's strength, I find, and obviously that is definitely really what you're there for, to watch. Sad to say that the characters themselves are a bit meh.
Yeah, bland. I don't have a favourite character. I'm not attached. I didn't really care.
Do you have a favourite character in the little owl that comes along?
Boo Boo or Bobo or Bebo, as I said.
The correct name is Bubo, who is essentially a Greek of R2-D2, basically.
Which one came first?
Star Wars.
Oh, that's
George
a shame.
Lucas. So
I wanted this to be kind of the first little kind of creation where they kind of got the idea from.
So I think they really stole that, thinking, this will be good. If it was to be like really popular, they'd have like be selling toys of that.
I'd have got one. That's like the best bit of the actual movie for me, is when he comes along.
Yeah.
He's really cute.
Yeah.
And I love owls, so this is like really biased because like my favourite animal would be an owl.
So then eventually we come to a point where Perseus encounters Calibos in the swamp. He obviously managed to find out what the riddle is, because he flies on Pegasus to where the swamp is. And then he's able to win over Andromeda with answering the riddle, so therefore they're due to be wed now. All that stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then, I love that. Oh, yeah, he's just answered the riddle. Don't even know who he is. I'm going to marry him now. Like, back in the day, that was the thing, wasn't it? Like, and it's like, really? That fickle? Like, oh, he's amazing. It's like, not really. He spies on you in your sleep with his invisible helmet, which that was creepy as all. So she'd seen him in her dream.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, actually, he's not all he's cracked up to be. God, Zeus, is just like giving him everything. Like, oh, here's a shield, here's a helmet. Like, he's not had to work a day. I hate people like that. He's not had to work a day in his life, and he's just being given it. Like, and maybe it's just because I'm jealous.
Yeah, like, you wish you could just have something just appear in front of you. But there you go.
Yeah, here you go.
It's like, £1 million.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't happen in life like that. Well, unless, what am I doing wrong? Like, unless, you know, like people who, not slagging off anybody, but, you know, if they've got a well-off kind of family, and you're like, oh, here's a car at 16. It's like, yeah, that never happens.
Yeah. So then, after this, what we think is going to be the wedding, but then clever mother of Andromeda decides to slag off
Mrs. McGonagall.
I think it's Thetis is what she's called, Maggie Smith.
I'm going to remember that now with that being like lettuce, but Thetis.
Okay. So her statue crumbles because they're in the temple of her, I presume, to, you know, where place to worship.
Yeah.
And so therefore she takes it upon herself to give, like, well, Andromeda is now going to be sacrificed to the Kraken. But she says in 30 days. It's like, why? It'd be funny, but why can't you do it now? Like in 2 days or something, you know, like
Don't give him enough time to think about it.
But there was no like conjunction with that. Like, right, if you got 30 days to do this or this will happen. It's there's no like threat. It was just like in 30 days time, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's no sense of redemption within that time to do something against it. Then that'll stop, which I find odd for the fact of that. It's why 30 days then if that's the case.
But then
it's not established.
It's also she's not going to show any mercy. So Zeus didn't do that with her son, so I think she's thinking, well, I'm not going to do the same with Andromeda. It's kind of that loom, I think, of 30 days and that suffering of...
But it's not suffering, is it? It's just dragging it out.
Yeah, but that for some people could be... Like, for me, I think that I'd rather just, within 2 days, be fed to the Kraken than for 30 days worrying that I'm going to die in 30 days. Like, which one would you prefer?
Well, we prefer to get it over and done with type thing, but...
So that's why she's doing it, so it's like a bit more cruel. Because you're dragging it out, aren't you?
But it doesn't work to her favour because now it's like, oh, we need a plan.
Yeah.
From Perseus and the guards of Joppa and everything to come up with something, and it's...
But as well, he's got Zeus on his side every way. She's never going to win because, obviously, Zeus is stronger. Anything that Zeus says goes. So this is where we kind of get, again, Zeus wanting his son to better.
Yeah.
That's when you get the owl.
Yeah, Bubo.
Because I love her, though. The other goddess won't give her the real owl. Don't blame her.
No, why would you?
She's so cute.
Yeah. It's because he lost his helmet in the swamp, which, to be fair, he started having invisibility, but every time you put it on, that's a bit annoying. I think that you'd be like an on-off switch for that.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be invisible right now, but then I guess same with Harry Potter's cloak. Because
then you'd have to carry it around just like, why don't you put your helmet on? Well,
yeah, true, yeah.
It's very obvious. But anyway, so now it's a quest and they go to these like blind witches.
With the third eye kind of thing, because obviously they can't see, so they've got this glass eye thing that they're looking through. They do that quite cleverly, I think, to be fair, with...
The makeup.
Yeah, and the trickery of...
how he gets
the information, and obviously in the eye, and...
That's with Bubo flying down.
Yeah.
So I think he's very much the crux of this, really, because he's, he can fly around and just get these little things to help him out. So I think without him around, I don't know how they would have got around that, to be fair.
And they wouldn't have then got the information that they needed to go on to the next kind of stage.
Which is to go and get Medusa's head to petrify the Kraken.
Yeah, so that is quite a good piece, I think. This gets a little bit more interesting to the back of the end.
It's a bit like, in a sense, how Jaws has the, it's kind of, but that has a lot more build up and through that, and then it's like you don't actually get out into the water until like an hour into the film, and then that's when it obviously kicks in for real. But this is way worse, and it's trying to build up.
And I think as well, like the actual monsters, you don't really, because this is obviously for Monster March. I was like, what is your main monster? Because you don't really get to see him until you get a bit of a shot at the beginning. Yeah. But then nothing.
Well, the reason I picked this one out really is because, one, it's a fairly light-hearted one, so you can't really argue, oh, this is the same as Monster Destroys City kind of thing. And it's, of Greek mythology, so there's all sorts of different monsters, haven't you? I mean, you have, not including Pegasus, because he's not really a monster as such, more mythical creature. You've got the vulture, Calibos himself, I guess you could class him as a monster, because he's become that way. The Kraken, the two-headed dog, which that's before you get into Medusa's lair, and Medusa herself. So there's a whole variety of...
Would you not say Medusa's a little bit mythical, no?
No, I would not say so. I would say definitely more a monster.
Would you?
Because, well, what she is a hideous snake.
I feel like they're just being a bit mean to her, to be fair.
That's the whole premise behind her being that way. A creature so horrifying that if you look into her eyes, you turn to stone.
True, but I don't think she means to do that. It's not her fault. She's cursed, isn't she, into being a horrible monster?
Yeah. again, it's the jealous gods playing their part on this, or how it's established.
Yeah. So then you get this handy shield that Zeus has provided, which he speaks through to him initially at the beginning, doesn't he, saying that this will save your life and it'll be
one day, yeah,
quite vital. So it feels like he was kind of saying to him, hold on to your shield. You can lose your hat and your helmet and your sword.
Wouldn't advise losing your sword, though, to be fair. But...
No, but you know, kind of, you're going to need your shield more than you probably think.
Yeah.
So obviously he kind of does this clever thing of, apparently, and I don't really know how accurate this is, where apparently if you look through your shield, or what about if you look through a mirror? Like,
well, that's the same difference there.
I feel like she still should be able to turn you into stone.
Yeah, I don't know, as again, the film doesn't say that as fact anyway, but yeah, you would think, well, sure, it's the same principle, but I guess not.
He's like, oh, if I look through my shield, because I'm not looking straight at her, I'll be all right. And it's like, well, how did you even know that that's going to be okay?
It's to test out someone, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like, all right, guy, warrior number 3.
Have a look and see if you can
do that, but how it works. But I think, other than the vulture itself, it's probably one of the most effective of the stop motion thing. I guess the lighting helps in this one particularly.
Yes.
Very dark and
there's not as much interaction with the people.
Yeah.
So like she's shooting like bow and arrows kind of thing, because she's from a distance. There's one shot there, and then obviously you're shooting back to him.
Yeah, so I think that's another. Yeah, you're right. That's probably another reason why that works so well, because it's very limited interaction with it, other than chopping the head off.
But that's not too bad, is it? Because it looks like he could have probably just done his shot there.
Yeah,
and it's kind of just a sword and an arm. Yeah, and that works. Whereas I think I saw it more so when they'd got Medusa's head, and obviously they were going to sleep in this gale force wind. Which, like you even said while we're watching it, nobody would be able to sleep in that. Even if you were that knackered, you wouldn't be able to.
Be cold for one thing.
Yeah. And then obviously we've got some kind of scorpions?
Oh yes, so it was another monster, sorry, yeah. From the blood of Medusa's head that gets scattered on the thing, Calibos decides to be an arse and do that. Like, oh well, yeah, I'll stop you. And they guys in your tracks, and then they turn into these giant scorpions, and this is like one of the examples of where poking at the air here, but and it's like, well, yeah, the scorpions look really great, but you don't.
And then you get that line as well round them a little bit, as well, like this blue line.
Yeah.
I also see it in the scene of when they're trying to tame Pegasus.
Yeah.
That Pegasus for me is, I would say it's my favourite, because obviously I've grown up loving horses. So I used to love My Little Ponies. Mm-hmm. Watching Hercules, I used to want a flying horse. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
So kind of trying to see him taming Pegasus. It was a bit disappointing with the far out shots. It just looked really bizarre, like very jolty. But then some bits when they were close up of him on the horse and it was just like wings, that looked quite realistic compared to the wider shots where you can just see him flying in the sky.
Well, there's or sort of like the loops of where it's obviously just footage of the horse running, but it's kind of like just moving downwards, like almost like taking a GIF and just dragging it down along the screen or something. It's like, it's not very convincing. Yeah, I admit it doesn't show its age very well, unfortunately.
I think it's a shame, really. I feel like they need to kind of remaster it a little bit and clean it up, but then
I don't think that even today's standard, I don't think you'd be able to clean it. It would take a lot of work anyway to try and clean it up, but I highly doubt this will be something they'll think, let's make a 4K of this and clean it.
Would you buy it if they did?
I'd have to see some really solid footage to be swayed towards that, I think, because I know they did it with Flash Gordon, and I know they've done a pretty good job with that, but I think even that there'll still be certain shots you can't fix everything up as much as you try and the will of everything. It's
sure, they could get rid of that blue line though. That'd be quite easy to tidy that up. But I think, to be fair, with this film, there's some amazing parts, but you can't improve the acting, can you?
No, sadly, that's nothing that can be fixed. That's how it is. That's how it's always will be now. But so in this fight, Calibos meets his demise from this sword. So that's him done and dusted.
So then we're kind of getting to the point of where Perseus...
Yeah, he ends up almost like defeated, but then Zeus comes in and kind of steps in like, oh, I'll just put the figure back up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so. Then he gets his second wind to come and help.
Back.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Kraken is now being released.
She's at this point, yeah.
I love how they have to put her in a really shiny dress, do her hair and makeup, and then tie her to a rock, and it's like... But that's kind of reminds me a little bit of King Kong-ish with that, because with the chains and such, kind of like the sacrificing.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they took it from King Kong.
Well, Ray Harryhausen was very much inspired by the stop motion that was in King Kong, so that's how his sort of career started from that, really. So that kind of makes sense, very much a strong inspiration.
So I kind of remember when I watched King Kong, I really struggled with it just because I think of the date sometimes of the film. But no, I can see where you're coming from with the kind of linking it back. So obviously now we've got this Kraken that appears, what do you think of the Kraken?
The way it's designed, the way it moves, or
way it's designed, I think.
Yeah, it's an odd. I gotta say an odd choice, but I guess one fact I didn't actually know about the Kraken is it's not even anything from Greek mythology. It's more from Scandinavian mythology. So I guess there was a bit more creative freedom with what it could be to make it work. I think, as we sort of know from, or what some people know anyway, from like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's portrayed as like a giant octopus creature.
So has it got like 8 arms?
Well, probably even more than that if it's...
Because this it was more like humanised, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was more like a reptilian fish. And obviously, when we get those bottles of rum, the Kraken rum, it's got a picture of one depicted on.
Yeah, I think an octopus would have probably looked a little bit more convincing with the animatronic side of things. Because it doesn't really look like he really goes near it that much because of the scaling.
Yeah.
It kind of is really, really tall and she's on like this little low rock.
Yeah.
It's kind of splashing water at her, really, I feel. It's not like kind of making much impact of trying to even grab her.
No, there's only like one instance where it's kind of thing, but it's like Pegasus then flies in. But yeah, I get what I mean. It's kind of like there's a lot of it moving around like he's all right, I'm here now, but then it's like then just a load of close shots of them going
yeah,
like there's not much going on, and the reactions from the crowd and everybody else, and it's like, yeah, come on, we can speed this up a little bit to get to that point. We get the Bubo again comes along and helps Perseus out. Pegasus gets knocked into the water, and then Bubo comes. He himself gets knocked around, and then it's like, I'll get the bag from the water with Medusa's head in. So kind of like, again, well, thank God he was there.
Yeah, it's the strongest character there.
And
he doesn't even speak, but he seems better than any of the actors.
And lo and behold, the head of Medusa then petrifies the Kraken into stone, and then...
Which I don't understand, because she's dead. It's like, how's she still being able to petrify people if she's not alive? Or is the curse
I don't know.
Still,
it's just one of those...
That don't wash with me, that.
Yeah, but that's it's just how it is, and I kind of just accept that fact, really. But then Perseus then carelessly just chucks it head in the water. It's like, when anybody could find that washed up onto, oh, what's this? And then they turn to stone. And then someone else comes along and, oh, what's this? And then it just being on the cycle.
So really, he should think less carelessly, really, of what his impact. So he should be punished for that, shouldn't he? For chucking her head into the water.
Well, he's not, of course. He's
no harm. He could have killed many fish in the sea.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
the ocean, and then yep.
Not thinking of his repercussions there.
Definitely not. So then, everything's all hunky dory, and then they're all, he gets his star in the constellations, and so does Pegasus for the bravery.
Definitely Pegasus deserves it. What about Bubo?
No, he didn't get her.
Well, I think he should. Pegasus didn't do much, really. All he did was fly. For after it got stolen by somebody, so...
Calibos, stole him away. Bubo had to rescue him then as well.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get a look in though, does he? Bless him.
No. So we determined that he's probably the best character in it. Really.
Yeah. He doesn't even speak. Yes, he's the best character.
So that's pretty much the film. You're not feeling this was a really strong one for Monster March then?
I think it's a strong Monster March film, and I think you're right with the encounters that we do have several.
I would go with something a bit different, really, to spruce it up a little bit more with, determine what it is. Because, like I said, I don't want to just doing the same.
Oh, I'd have got bored, I think, if we were just the same and
type
same
of
and same
thing. Because there was a whole array of different things that featured, like Ray Harryhausen stop motion animation in, but I think in this one is one of the particularly well known ones. There is another one that does have more other Greek mythology in, but this is like his second one dealing with Greek mythology, but it was like his final film that he was involved with before he retired. But I think at this point as well, it was probably a good point for that, because it was becoming somewhat a dying art, really.
It's a shame, isn't it, really? Because it does add some beautiful kind of elements to it, and I think I prefer the animatronics.
But that's, like I said, that's what you are there for, to watch, really, the spectacle of these creatures brought to life through that. But
even within, I think it just adds more to a film. So, like, for example, if we're going towards Dark Crystal and the Muppets kind of being portrayed that way,
you
kind of get more life and emotion, even out of then it being sometimes drawn or manipulated on a green screen. I feel sometimes
like a CG character.
Or like a 3D character, like from that Pokemon film that we watched.
You
just get more kind of detail and it feels more real.
Yeah. So this final film was the one he worked with other animators, whereas before any of his stop motion stuff, he would be solely his doing. He hadn't had anybody else think about that, like amount of character models and things to do the steps to make, say, the snake's head move, and also her blink and move that this way, position her head and all that kind of stuff to do all that.
Maybe he's a little bit of a perfectionist, possibly. Because I can imagine if somebody moves something by accident. Yeah,
you cannot simply just like go away if the phone rings. You can't just get up and walk away and they'd be like, oh, where did I leave off now?
Yeah.
Like, and then that look a bit dodgy in the you take the picture and then go next step.
Yeah.
I do respect people who do stop motion for that, because
the patience
you must have to do that for like a second. Animation just.
I know I did it in uni. I did do, but it was rubbish.
I've tried it before, but I tried rush ahead and go, just move there, and there, and it just doesn't come out. It's a fine art.
Yeah,
definitely.
Especially with what I had to do, because I decided to do spoons. It was like a little bit like Forky, really, but I just didn't.
Disney stole your idea.
I know, I just didn't get there in time. But I had blue tack on a spoon's foot, so that was really hard to move the blue tack.
Okay.
To kind of not mush it in.
The blue tack were his feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Did he have googly eyes?
Yes.
Did he have pipe cleaner hands?
No.
Oh. Well.
No, I don't think he did.
Did he have a mouth?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
It's pretty much Forky, but a spoony. And
we should have a picture.
I'll have to see if I can dig something out of my like old camera and see if I've got a
be like,
spoony.
Oh, Disney.
So I think he had a little family going on and everything, but it was so hard work because the spoons were too heavy to stick on the blue tack, so they kept on falling down.
No.
And then it's like moving the blue tack, and then blue tack's not a great idea because obviously it marks your
surface,
yeah. So then you can see where he's been.
Muddy footprints.
Yeah. All these little life hacks that just a simple concept of a spoon. Yeah. Maybe I should have gone with a plastic spoon, though. Mine was a metal one.
Okay. There's the difference.
Yeah, there's the difference.
Yeah, so it was obviously, for an audience, I feel like probably like seemed very outdated back then in the early 80s. For like, this isn't very, technology has stepped up now, because like you think about round about that time, that was like when Star Wars, like Empire Strikes Back, was out, and obviously using a lot more digital effects, and you still had sort of stop motion, but it was like go motion as well applied to it as well, with things to bring it more to life and everything. So these technologies that are creeping in, it's like, this is the way forward now. This is what the people want. So sadly, it's an art that is kind of dying out a little bit. But I mean, like, unless it's full-fledged studios taken apart, and like people made Coraline and Paranorman and things like that, where it's obviously totally dedicated to everything is stop motion.
Yeah.
Box trolls.
I think that works
Yeah.
better sometimes than trying to incorporate it into
with live action.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, with that being said, then I think we'll go to the scoring if you want to do that.
I feel like I've been really horribly Monster March. I don't know if it's just because it's not my kind of thing, or I think I gave Jurassic Park 3 a 3, didn't I?
I can allow that for that one because where I gave it a 4 and Alex gave it a 4. So
I don't feel like this one's going to be going much higher personally.
Right.
For me, I would not watch it again. I didn't fall in love with it apart from the little owl.
Mm-hmm.
I think the acting really let it down for me. You've shown me some really good films of acting, and I have a bit of a high expectation now. And then when somebody's poor and weak, which I would have never noticed if I hadn't met you, it wouldn't have even bothered me. You've ruined it, and now I'm like, they're rubbish. I could try and act better than that. So I think, I don't know if you're really kind of. I think I'd probably give it a 5. Just for the animatronic side of things. I would have rather just had it without the people. The people are the ones that ruined this film for me.
Yeah, I will say, imagine my excitement when I learned, this was like just after I'd finished uni back in 2010, when I learned of the fact that they were going to do like a remake of Clash of the Titans, so like a more modernised version.
Yeah.
And then to find out from that, like when I would go to see it, like went with my brother to go see it in like 3D and everything, like, well, this is going to be amazing. And it was such a letdown.
Really?
Even for a modern retelling of the story, and it was just ridiculous.
Is that because they didn't use the animatronics? Is that what it was?
No, there was no. It was all like full 3D computer generated.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, the 3D was absolutely non-existent. Wearing the 3D glasses for that film, it was just like, what was the point? I don't know why even did that. You know, that was such a fad for having films in 3D. It's just a slight bit of depth, but it wasn't. There was nothing clever that jumped out of the screen or anything. It would just give you that sort of perception a little bit. But it's like when you take your glasses off, and it's like, well, this isn't really making a difference essentially. So with that, it's kind of hard to. Like, for me personally, like saying about like which would I prefer to go back to. I don't think really. I don't hold that one in high regard.
Is it because
the remake that is because
Andromeda's
of like
not as pretty? Is that what you're saying in that one?
I really can't remember much about it, but all I know, remember there's like when there's like doom, like slow motion and all that, and just all this sort of other. I know this film itself has its bit of like campiness about it with mainly the people really.
Yeah.
They like hamming it up a little bit, but so for me, it is hard to now justify this as like anything really super fantastic. Still, but it's still better than the remake that I saw that was so hyped for, and then just really let down. I can appreciate the models, especially as being like the art of that is fantastic, but when they interact with people, it's obviously definitely shows.
Yeah, weakens it, doesn't it?
Weakens it down, waters it down, unfortunately. So
and the acting.
Definitely the acting in exactly, it's not what you're there for, really.
And there's not really a strong character that you're willing to want to do well.
The only one who's got a bit like sort of comic relief is who's called Anon, who's like the philosopher guy, who's like the friend of Perseus who he first meets on the island of Joppa. But he was okay. He was light-hearted and everything. But it's. Everybody else is a bit, couldn't give a toss about, really.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree completely on that one. I think that's why I gave it such a low score. For me, I need to feel a bit of a connection, and I think I didn't really.
Yeah. But you're going with 5? I'm
going with a 5, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I totally agree. It's not, I certainly don't think it's for everyone. It'd be certainly a hard sell these days to get someone to really be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Maybe spur your imagination a little bit with the figurines doing the animation, but it's it's tricky to
I always
modern
admire
audience.
like the animation
Yeah, the
side
craft,
of it. Yeah, that I will never go away. But then if you get a classic like Singing in the Rain, where everything is
That's
just a knockout,
timeless. Yeah,
and whereas this isn't. This really does get dated, and I think that's why my score's so low.
Okay. Now I don't know whether to for me my scoring it's either going to be 6. I don't even know if it can reach a 6.5, to be honest. The more I think about it, I really think it's more of a 6.
Yeah, and is that same reasonings really on my part apart from the animatronics? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I think it's really is the thing. It just sad to say because this is a very much epitome of it was the epitome of like a Sunday afternoon watch that you'd have, and it's kind of just background thing, but very much you'd be probably more heavily invested in doing something else until the monsters come on screen, and then you'd be interested. That's how I would see it. So yeah, sadly it doesn't work in its
2 hours long. This film is, and like for an hour and a half it feels you're kind of getting a little bit of drama coming in, like maybe in the hour and a half, kind of then knowing that the Kraken's going to be released, and all of that action kind of happens in the last 30 minutes of the film, which I feel like some of it could be chopped out.
But yeah, I guess you'll be happy to know that I kind of I'd look back on from previous things, and putting it at 6, which I'm going to, I've rated Dirty Dancing like a 0.5% higher, so it should be
I'm well made up with that. Oh, that is funny, because I know when we were watching it you weren't that happy with Dirty Dancing, so to speak. You were a little bit like but actually that the fact that you're putting it over a monster film, what does that say, Paul?
I don't know, growing up, I don't know, in a sense.
Like in romance.
You're so still maybe Pokemon though, so maybe not completely, but
maybe I'm influencing you.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, in the bad habits.
Well, I'm sorry this wasn't what I intended it to be. I thought, particularly with the little owl Bubo, little robot thing flying around, was probably what would maybe appeal to you the most. But I think, even I was kind of like going through it and thinking, hey, this isn't maybe as good as I remember it being.
It's a shame when that happens, isn't it? I know there's been a couple of films that we've watched recently, like that happened to me with Dirty Dancing a little bit. To be fair, your adult head watching something not so kind of in tuned and looking at it like from a more critical aspect can disappoint you, whereas other films, like when we watched Pretty Woman, that didn't fail to give me enjoyment like it did. And like, for example, Singing in the Rain, that being a classic, but I've never seen it before, it's still timeless. And It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. So when you're comparing films,
when you've got strong stories and everything, that's what solidifies it as a good film, and that's what keeps you going back to them. So it's just things like that can just tastes change over time. So, and this is one of those.
It's a bit bittersweet though when that happens, isn't it? Really? Because you kind of want to
keep hold of things like that kind of like maybe like certainly for me like very much part of my childhood.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That I know. Don't say sorry, because it's like my sort of realization of that. I'm not. You haven't said because you said it's not very good, but I've seen it for myself. I'm not like trying to super defend it. Like
well, no, that's true.
Other than the fact that the models, but that's really what drew me to it as a child. So it wasn't like this acting's incredible. No, because that was never the case at all.
It's a shame, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you want to go and watch something for 2 hours, it's something to waste your time on.
I'd certainly recommend it over the 2010 Clash of the Titans, and they did like a follow up with Wrath of the Titans. So I don't think I even bothered watching that one. So it's more if you want to see the work of Ray Harryhausen, he's no longer with us, but he was a fantastic stop motion animator. Then do check out for him at least to see the monster creations come to life.
Definitely. And I think for me, kind of just a credit on how they do that art piece really is amazing. And I think that's the only thing that's why I could have marked it lower for the acting. If they hadn't had that, it would have been really, really, really a bad film. But thank you so much anyways for listening to us. I hope you've enjoyed it. We do have some more exciting, more Monster March films coming up.
Yep.
But we just didn't want to go with the same norm of, oh yeah, it's a monster, it finds a pretty girl, it crashes into a tower aspect.
Yeah.
So please keep tuned in for that.
Next time, Soph, I'm really hoping you're going to like this one, though. More self-aware of what it's doing in terms of silliness and campiness, I suppose. And that'll be the King Kong versus Godzilla Japanese.
It's going to be interesting, this is, because I feel you're going to go more Godzilla within this, and I think I'm going to be more of a King Kong girl.
Well, we shall see with this one, but this is really in preparation for when, obviously, at some point, whenever we get the chance to see Godzilla vs. Kong, whenever that comes out for us here in the UK. I know HBO Max and the cinemas in the States are getting it within the end of the month, maybe, but I don't know when we'll be able to get to see it. But it's
hopefully they'll release it later on in the year, because at the moment our cinemas are not even open, are they?
No, I do. That really feels like a cinema going film, and it's a shame that probably won't be the case this time for this type of caliber of film. But thank you very much for listening to this episode. You can check out our previous Monster March episodes
from last year,
and also this last one we did, Jurassic Park, which very popular episode.
Yeah, we had a very good guest as well.
You can find that and the other episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you may get your podcasts from. And of course, you can follow us on the social media under the handle SP_filmviewers on Instagram, Twitter, sometimes Facebook, but we're mostly on the other two platforms.
Yeah, definitely on the Instagram platform. So thank you so much for following us and supporting us, and hopefully enjoying most of the content that we're providing. If you want to leave us a message or anything, or recommend any films that you think that we should cover, it'd be much appreciated, any of your thoughts.
Yep, so thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Thank you very much. Speak to you next time.
Bye now.